A bitch just be talking about me thinking I ain't gonna go look on their page. I be looking at y'all page, and y'all can't talk about me because
you know that I throw hands, right? You know that I throw hands, right? You know that I throw hands, right? You know that I throw hands, right?
The caller said that there's a gash on the patient's neck. It looks like someone slashed
When I came
her
in,
neck.
I saw that the tape was on the door, and that's all I know.
Did you ever see anybody unusual come in or out of there?
No.
We, the jury, find as follows as the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree.
We have some justice for Kayla.
What would you do if you discovered the person you loved was living a double life? Would you walk away, confront them, or would you buy a plane ticket, fly 1,000 miles, and show up at 4 a.m. at the doorstep of the woman who didn't even know you existed? On July 13th, 2022, in a quiet apartment complex in Tamarack, Florida, 23-year-old Kayla Hodgson was found dead in her own home. She'd been stabbed dozens of times. Her apartment looked like a war zone. Blood everywhere, evidence of a violent struggle, and signs that someone had desperately tried to clean up before fleeing the scene. But here's what made this case different. Kayla wasn't killed by a stranger. She wasn't killed by an ex-boyfriend or a random burglar. She was killed by a woman she'd never met face-to-face, a woman who was 2 months pregnant and had flown from New York with one mission in mind. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you. Thank you to every single person watching, commenting, sharing these stories. We read every comment you leave. Your thoughts, your theories, your support, it means everything to us here at True Crime Unravelled. So keep those comments coming. We see you, and we appreciate you. Now, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about jealousy, obsession, and how far someone will go when they feel like they're losing control. Kayla Hodgson was 23 years old. She worked as a flight attendant and picked up bartending shifts to make extra money. Friends described her as the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. Bright, beautiful, everybody's hype man. She was living her life, enjoying her 20s, and doing what young people do. That's when she met Terry. Now, Terry isn't the focus of this story, but trust me, he's the reason this story exists. He professed his love to Kayla. They started dating. Everything seemed normal. Kayla had no reason to believe anything was wrong. But here's what Kayla didn't know. Terry had another girlfriend. A serious girlfriend. A girlfriend back in New York who was building her life around him. Her name was Sakita Thompson, 28 years old, a nail technician with her own business in Springfield, New York. By all accounts, she was doing well for herself, making decent money, enjoying life, and very much in love with Terry. Sakina wasn't the low-key type. She loved social media. She posted everything: her nails, her outfits, her nights out, her relationship with Terry. She wanted the world to see that she was winning, that she had her man, that she was the main girlfriend. But social media can be a dangerous place when you're trying to convince yourself of something that isn't entirely true. Now, imagine this. You're 2 months pregnant. You're planning your future with the man you love. And then you find out he's been seeing someone else. Not just casually seeing, but actively dating, spending time with, building a relationship with another woman in another state. That's exactly what happened to Sakita Thompson. When she found out about Kayla, something inside her shifted. Friends would later say she became obsessed. She started looking at Kayla's social media pages, studying her, watching her every move. She even tried reaching out to Kayla on Instagram, but Kayla blocked her. And that made Sakina angry. In court, she would later admit it herself. And that made you angry? The prosecutor asked. Correct, Sakina replied. Think about that for a second. A woman you've never met blocks you on social media, and it enrages you enough to fly to another state. What does that tell you about where her mind was at? But Sakina didn't just want to vent online or confront Terry. No, she wanted to handle this woman to woman. At least, that's what she would claim later. She wanted to look Kayla in the eyes and tell her to back off, to convince her to stop seeing Terry. So on August 3rd, 2022, Sakita Thompson bought a plane ticket from New York to Florida. She tracked down Kayla's address in the Tamarack Village apartment complex. And she showed up at Kayla's door, at 4 o'clock in the morning. 4 in the morning. Let that sink in. If you're going somewhere at 4 a.m., you're not going to have a calm, rational conversation. You're going with rage pumping through your veins. When Kayla opened the door, she had no idea who this woman was. She had no idea that her boyfriend's other girlfriend, a woman who was pregnant with his child, was standing on her doorstep. Sakina would later testify that she tried to talk to Kayla, that she wanted to have a civil conversation about Terry and where they all stood. But according to Sakina, things turned violent fast. She claimed Kayla hit her over the head with a hookah, that Kayla started punching her, grabbing her hair, and attacking her. She said Kayla took a piece of glass from the hookah and slashed her across the stomach. Remember, she was 2 months pregnant at this point. Sakina testified that she grabbed the glass in self-defense and then blacked out. When she came to, Kayla was dead on the floor. But here's where her story falls apart. The autopsy showed that Kayla Hodgson was stabbed dozens of times. Not once. Not twice. Dozens. The medical examiner's photos were described as gruesome. This wasn't a quick defensive move. This was rage. This was overkill. This was someone who wanted to make sure Kayla never got back up. And then there's what Sakina did after. She didn't call the police. She didn't call for help. She didn't try to save Kayla. Instead, she grabbed Lysol wipes and paper towels and started cleaning up the crime scene. She walked through the blood, literally walked in it, not over it, but in it, tracking it all over the apartment. She changed out of her bloody clothes and put on Kayla's clothes. She threw her blood-stained jacket in the trash. When prosecutors asked her why she didn't call the police if it was really self-defense, she said she was scared, that no one would believe her. But the jury didn't buy it. And honestly, how could they? After Sakina left Kayla's apartment, she boarded a plane back to New York, thinking she'd gotten away with it. She thought she'd cleaned up enough. She thought no one would connect her to this. But on July 13th, 2022, someone found Kayla unresponsive in her apartment. First responders arrived and pronounced her dead at the scene. The Broward Sheriff's Office immediately launched a homicide investigation. It didn't take long for investigators to piece things together. They discovered the love triangle. They found messages between Sakina and Kayla on Instagram. They found that Sakina had been angry when Kayla blocked her. They pulled travel records showing Sakina had flown from New York to Florida just before the murder. And then they found the evidence Sakina couldn't clean up, her DNA under Kayla's fingernails. Kayla had fought back. She'd clawed at her attacker, and in doing so, she'd left behind the proof of who killed her. On August 3rd, 2022, 3 weeks after the murder, New York police arrested Sakita Thompson in Queens. She was extradited to Florida and charged with first-degree murder. Even though she was pregnant, her request to be released on bond to give birth outside of jail was denied. She wrote a heartfelt letter to the judge, asking for mercy, saying she was terrified of going into labor while incarcerated. But the judge saw through it. She stayed in jail throughout her entire pregnancy. When the case finally went to trial, Sakita Thompson took the stand in her own defense. For over 2 hours, she testified. She admitted she was jealous. She admitted she was insecure. She admitted flying to Florida specifically to confront Kayla. The prosecutor pressed her hard. You didn't kill her because she was fighting you? No, Sakina said. I killed her because she took the glass from the hookah and slashed me across my stomach. But the physical evidence told a different story. The state presented Kayla's autopsy photos, showing the dozens of stab wounds all over her body. They showed the blood patterns in the apartment. They showed the DNA evidence. They showed that Sakina had changed into Kayla's clothes and tried to cover her tracks. The defense argued that Sakina didn't start the fight, that Kayla attacked first. But the jury wasn't convinced. After deliberating, they returned with a verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. Kayla's family cried tears of joy in the courtroom. After more than 3 years of waiting, they finally had justice. The moment I heard guilty, one family member said, it was what we all needed for closure, to move forward, to start our healing process. So here's what gets me about this case. Sakita Thompson had everything going for her. She had her own business. She was about to become a mother. She had her whole life ahead of her, and she threw it all away for a man who, according to reports, has already moved on and is dating other women. A man who barely even thinks about her anymore. Was it worth it? Was destroying Kayla's life, and her own, worth fighting over someone who clearly didn't respect either of them? What do you think? Do you believe Sakina's self-defense claim had any merit? Or was this premeditated murder fueled by jealousy and rage? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. If this story moved you, hit that like button. It really helps us bring more of these important stories to light. And if you haven't already, subscribe to True Crime Unravelled and turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on Facebook and TikTok at True Crime Unravelled TV for more case updates. Rest in peace, Kayla Hodgson. You deserved so much better.
State prosecutors questioned Sakita Thompson about why she stabbed Kayla Hodgson to death inside of Hodgson's Tamarack home 3 years ago. Thompson told jurors she went to Hodgson's apartment uninvited to talk woman to woman about dating the same man. Thompson claims Hodgson attacked her.
Punching me.
Punching you where?
My face.
Where on your face? Point to it for us.
I don't remember, but everywhere on my face.
You don't remember where she was punching you in your face?
In my face.
I mean, this is why you killed her, right?
No.
Right?
No.
It's not?
No.
You didn't kill her because she was fighting you?
No, I killed her because she took the glass from the hookah and slashed me across my stomach.
Thompson says she was 2 months pregnant at the time. She says Hodgson cut her stomach with a piece of glass. Thompson grabbed the glass and then blacked out. She allegedly awoke to Hodgson dead on the floor. Gruesome autopsy photos of Hodgson's body show she was stabbed dozens of times.
I wasn't really walking over the blood, I was walking in the blood.
You walked in the blood?
Yes.
With what shoes?
The BB shoes. I changed my shoes.
Thompson admitted to changing into the victim's clothes, cleaning up some of the crime scene, and being too scared to call police. She also threw evidence in the trash.
No, she's getting close enough because my jacket was cut up.
Okay, your jacket was cut up?
My jacket was cut up.
Okay, and what'd you do with that jacket?
Threw it away.
In the months leading up to the killing, Thompson admitted to getting upset when Hodgson blocked her on social media. The state says she was upset enough to kill.
You wrote her on IG and she, in fact, ignored your message initially, correct?
Correct.
And that made you angry?
Correct.
State of Florida versus Sakita Thompson.
A burden lifted.
We, the jury, find as follows as the defendant in this case. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree.
Guilty is what this family has waited to hear for more than 3 years.
We finally have some justice for Kayla.
A jury found Sakita Thompson guilty of killing 23-year-old Kayla Hodgson in 2022. Prosecutors argued Thompson surprised Hodgson at her Tamarack apartment, confronted her about the two of them dating the same man, and then stabbed her to death.
December 22nd.
Hodgson's family cried tears of joy in the courtroom Tuesday. They hugged each other tight because a guilty verdict is what they prayed for.
We're so thankful in this moment that the jury was able to see the story for what it is, that Kayla did not deserve to die the way that she did.
Defense attorneys insist Thompson didn't start the fight. They say Hodgson hit Thompson first and cut her stomach with a piece of glass. When Thompson took the stand earlier in the week, she admitted she killed Hodgson because her life was in danger and she was pregnant.
She thought, oh God, she's coming for me and my baby. That's when she grabs the glass and then she blacks out.
After the murder, Thompson admitted she changed into the victim's clothes, cleaned up some of the scene, and that she was too scared to call police. She also threw evidence in the trash. A life taken too soon. Years later, the family says they got justice.
And the moment I heard guilty, it was what we all needed for closure in this moment to move forward, to start our healing process. It's been a long 3.5 years.
Right tail motherfucking farmer.
Ha ha ha!